Is Chip LeBlanc? Oh, yes, everyone is LeBlanc. So, the last time there was an expansion, I waited until the end of the expansion, like when they had done, like they do the region expansion and then they do 2 mini expansions afterwards, right? I waited until the end of that, but this time around, I wanted to get into it a little bit sooner because this time around, I want to talk about not just, usually we only talk about the units. Like, usually we only talk about champions and followers on these streams. But this time around, actually, I want to talk about the spells as well. And I want to talk about, like, this is because this is something people have been asking about. I want to talk about the lore as well. Like, I want to talk about, like, the flavor text on the cards also. Bring that into it as well. Because people have been asking for it. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to look at some spells. We're going to look at some flavor text. We're going to talk a little bit about lore as it relates to Legends of Runeterra. And so this is probably a little bit more thing. We'll also look at some interactions. I've got the interactions from Skin Spotlights, who is a hero for putting those things together. An absolute legend. You should all be subscribed to his channel and watch all his videos. I've got those queued up. So as we get to Malphite, as we get to Taliyah, as we get to the various champions, I'm going to bring up their interactions when I think there's something interesting to talk about. Because the Irelia has some that I want to talk about, especially. So let's get to that. Anyway, more super chats. Oh god, Malphite is such a good dad in Legends of Runeterra. He's so good. He's so lovely. I love Malphite so much. I'm building Malphite decks. I tell you that. The Harbo går helt fint. Skal bestemt ikke klage over andet end vejret. Er vejret også nederen hos jer? Ja, fair nok. Det fucking regnede hele dagen. Og det regner sol, regn, sol, regn, sol, og mit vindue vender mod solen, så det er helt vildt varmt, og så åbner jeg vinduet, så begynder det at regne, så kan man vand ind i vinduet. Lord. Anyway. Oh, Soulstep, I'm here to do work for you in chat. Have some of my money, because that's how employment works. You make me feel bad, dude! But thank you very much for your help, as always. Right, so we are almost 5 minutes past the hour, which means people have probably had time to realize that the stream is happening. Which means that we can actually get started on the thing. And I have been smart, and I have a list of the new cards that are coming in this particular expansion, and we might as well just start from the beginning, because the first most obvious is the cheapest champion in this particular set, which is Zilean. So, Zilean is sort of an interesting character in League of Legends context, because he's very old. Also as a person, he's very old, but he's very old as a champion. He's been in the game since frickin' forever, and he has never, ever received any... He's received a texture update. Like, I believe they updated his textures a couple of times. That's it. They've never done jack shit else with him ever. He doesn't have any lore. Like, they retconned him with a little bit of lore relatively recently, but he has no stories. He has no, like, connections to any other champions, really. He's always sort of existed in his own little bubble, which is something that they've then worked into his lore now, because now the whole point of his lore is, no, he lives in a time bubble, basically, like this time temple looking place, whatever the hell this is, where he's just hanging out with Icathian mages who have survived, or Icathian, as we have learned it's supposed to be pronounced in the interactions. Icathian mages who are trying to research how to make the void not, like, eat everything. So they've sort of worked it into his lore that he's completely isolated from everyone and nobody has any connection with him. Anyway, this is probably the most lore, is the point I'm trying to get at. This is the most lore Zilean has received in a long, long time, is what I'm trying to get at here. So, over many years, Zilean established a network of promising young mages from different times, all of whom were capable of seeing out his life's work should the unthinkable happen. Although a kind and encouraging mentor, deep sorrow creased his brow when he sought solitude, and there was weariness in his eyes that only someone who has lived multiple lifetimes could hope to comprehend. Which, yeah, pretty much just, they've established new status quo for him, something that kind of works with his lore, and, like, they've given him a small design update as well. Like, he does not look like this in-game, like, at all. They've given him some, like, Shurima-ish Icathian robes, I suppose, like, with a lot of Shuriman disc designs rather than the clocks that he's constantly running around with, and sort of just updated him to look a little nicer, which is cool. It's nice to see Zilean get some love, because, my god, has he needed it. I don't expect he's going to be on the table for a visual and gameplay update for a long time. But hey, it's something. Anyway, let's look at the artwork. And if you've been to these streams before, there might be something that you're already looking for right now, which is a frame, which is something that the art designers of this card game are very fond of using, is to have frames within the frame of the card to create a space for the character to occupy. And it is here. It's a little bit subtle, but basically this big glowy disc thing behind him is his frame within the frame. It creates a background for him to stand out against. It separates him from the rest of the space a little bit, and it gives him a place of prominence. It gives him a place to stand out from. And something else, what else is also happening is look at the lighting on Zilean. Like, the other characters are, like, not in darkness or anything, but if you look at the lady back here, like, she has some highlights on her, but none of them are anywhere near as bright and, like, direct sunlight looking as Zilean's are. Even Kahiri, who's hanging out up here floating around messing with a sun disk, or a time disk or whatever, who has some light on him, is not lit up anywhere near as brightly. And that's something that, like, you'll see in splash arts over and over and over again, is the character that you're supposed to look at is literally highlighted. Like, they just literally just put light on them so you can see them. They also tend to be more saturated in their colors. They also tend to have a broader color range in terms of the values of their colors. Like, they tend to have, like, deeper shadows and brighter highlights, so there's a greater contrast between what they're looking at. And all of that is in play with Zilean, and we're going to see that many, many times over the course of looking at these cards. It's just like, just use a bunch of light and highlight to highlight the character, give them more vibrant colors, give them a brighter, more dynamic color range, and then there is management of details. And this is something that's a little bit subtle and can be kind of hard to see. But if you download the art of the cards and you take a look at, like, the level of detail that is put on main characters, like the characters who are important to the story of the card, or the central characters of the card, compared to the level of actual detail that's put on stuff like background characters, or even background features, because Zilean here in the middle, and he's a good example of this, hella rendering. Like, you can see the individual strands of his beard. He's got, like, furrows and creases on his forehead. He's got wrinkles. He's got bony old man hands. He's got, like, all his creases and crinkles in his clothing. All this just hella density of detail on him. But if you zoom in on the researchers in the background, most of them will be much more created from, like, flat color surfaces. You can see it especially on the robes of the dudes here in the background. It's like, there's no detail on any of it. It's just a flat color surface for the robe there, and, like, maybe a little bit of highlight, maybe a little bit of shadow if we're being generous, but flat colors a lot more. And that, like, again, that's about leading the eye of the beholder. Like, when you put a lot of detail, when you put a lot of rendering on something, that also attracts the attention of the viewer to the thing that you want them to look at. Why does he have those coins? That's a good question. There's no answer to that in the lore that I have seen so far. But I think it's just as a talisman, as a kind of, like, instead of having a wizard wand or whatever, he has these magic coins that do time magic or something. And so here we have Zilean in full spellcaster mode. And again, we see some of the same tricks repeated. Like, frame within the frame, well, we have this circular portal time contraption, whatever the hell this thing is, creates a little bit of a frame for Zilean to occupy. He stands out in terms of his colors. He's like the only bright splash of red right here in the middle. There's the contrast, and there's the highlighting. Plus, there's no other characters in the image that you can see. Like, there's a soldier down here. And that all helps him stand out. Zilean, though, does have a slightly different aesthetic to his cards than a lot of the other champion cards, which is interesting. Hair looked better in the other picture. Yeah, but in the other picture, Zilean was also a lot closer. He's a lot bigger in the artwork here. And that's the other thing that comes into, like, choosing when to put a lot of details on things, because if you overload a really distant thing, like the researchers in the background, or a more distant character with detail, they also tend to look muddy. Like, they also tend to look really kind of indistinct and kind of, like, messy, rather than looking clear, and it can mess up, like, it can make your pose and your composition be a lot more confused. So Zilean here is a lot further away from the camera. Like, if you imagine this is like a video game, this is where the camera is. So it makes sense to, like, dial down the detail level a little bit, but still, if you look at him, you can see lots and lots and lots of detail on the character, and then all of the background stuff, like even the rocks and things, relatively sort of downplayed level of detail on things to avoid detail density being spread all over the image and focusing on the areas of interest. that most people are going to be looking at most of the time. And so, countless possibilities stretched before and behind him. He saw them all at once, a dizzying array that only he could decipher. With a single gesture, Zilean could unfold entire timelines, but none had yet shown him how to save Icathia. Is Zilean immortal or something? That's interesting because we don't know. We don't know if Zilean is immortal. We know that he's able to manipulate time to such an extent that he can give people more time, he can take time away, so he can probably accelerate aging or maybe stop it, but I don't, like, he's probably gonna die if you kill him, like if you stab him in the chest or something. He's 3,000-ish years old. Yeah, we don't know that, Strix. The trouble is, so, again, Zilean, he hasn't had any lore updates in a million years, and we don't actually quite, with old League of Legends champions, their canon is really soft. Like, what's canon about them is like, eh. Oftentimes, even Riot doesn't really know what's canon about really old champions that haven't been updated. For example, Shaco. Shaco has no lore. He has no lore. Like, there's a sort of placeholder blurb on the universe about, oh, he was the puppet of a prince that got haunted by a demon or something. But that's like, it doesn't, like, no. Any new thing they make about Shaco is just gonna retcon that shit out of existence like that. Like, it's soft. It's not something that you should count on sticking around or being very important ever, because it's just a placeholder that Riot has plopped there because there needs to be something. You can't just have nothing, so we'll just put something there, and then we'll come back to it later once we figured out what the fuck to do with him. And Zilean is in kind of the same position, or he was until this update with Legends of Runeterra, where like, his lore was sort of really, yeah, he's a magic, lives in the tower, time magic, like, where it was all kind of vague and easy to retcon, and now they've sort of solidified it into, okay, he actually has, like, a time research academy thing going on, and he's, like, bringing in people from different timelines, and he has, like, a concept, and he's tied into the history of Icathia, and they sort of tried to make him more real and tie him into the ongoing Void storyline more. But up until this point, like, his canon was pretty soft, and they've retconned out a lot of things. Like, for example, we don't know if he's 3,000 years old. Icathia fell... Well, actually, shit, maybe he is 3,000 years old, because I can't actually remember when Icathia fell. I should rewatch the Necrit timeline video at some point. But it's like a century or two. No, not a century. Maybe 1 or 2,000 years, who knows? But the question is, like, how much of that time has he experienced, is the question. Because, like, did Zilean freeze his tower in time the moment Icathia fell, and then he's just been stuck there, and he's just bringing in people from different timelines, but for him it's only been 10 years. Maybe for him it's only been 10, 15, 20 years, but he's just skipping forward in time to enter the present day of League. We don't know. We don't know, is the point. We don't know. But what we're told about the story here is that he can't find a timeline where Icathia doesn't fall. Like, it's just, no, Icathia is gonna fall. It's a fixed point in time, to use a Doctor Who metaphor. And he's, like, researching some way or another to make it happen. As it says here, we cannot stop the inevitable, but we can postpone it, Zilean. Oh, there's a super chat. He's ageless, not immortal. Yeah, I would say that's probably more correct. So, I haven't talked about spells on these streams before, mostly because, like, a lot of the spell cards are like, oh, here's a shield, and there's some swords lying there, and that's the plunder spell for Freljord. But some of them are actually a little bit fun, and there are some compositional things to talk about, because, again, as we talked about with Zilean's splash art, here's a frame. He's framed by the crystal, which has this very, very bright background, so Zilean shows up as a dark shadow, essentially, against this dark background. He also has the 3 hourglasses, all of which are creating, like, a directionality. They're sort of pointing at him, basically, like they're essentially little arrows pointing straight at Zilean. And then there's the cross-section of the crystal itself, which creates, like, there's a line here, like from here to here, and there's a line from here to here, and he's right in the middle of that. And then there's the circular spinny things that obviously are revolving around him as a center point. All of that sort of leaning back to the figure of Zilean. So that compositional element is in some of the spells as well, where they compose around a central thing in the image, which I quite like. Plus, like early, I feel like early spells in Legends of Runeterra a lot of them just weren't interesting to look at because they were just like, oh, here's the magic potion bottle. But some of the newer ones tell a little bit more of a story because this is Zilean actually doing his time magic stuff. And then we have the Time Bomb, which, by the way, I want this spell effect in League of Legends proper. Like, I want to see that shit happen instead of whatever it is he does with his thing and thing. Right now. Oh, super chat. Why is his hair not blue anymore? Because blue hair is very silly and cartoony, basically. Like, they updated Zilean to look a little bit less like a cartoon character like he did in old League of Legends, so they made his hair white, because it's also supposed to communicate that he's old, which blue hair kind of doesn't, but white hair does, so... Anyway, there was a super chat. Any chance of you building a better Shaco video? Maybe. Maybe. I'm building a better video right now. We're working on the artwork, and that video should come out in the start of June, I think? Yeah, June. It's not something people have been asking for. It's just one I wanted to do because, well, for two reasons, but you'll see once the video comes out. Anyway, composition. So here's something interesting. Because the central character of this image isn't a thing, and it isn't a character. Right, like, this little robot guy, this little timekeeper chrono robot, whatever the hell, or little, he's actually kind of big, I think. He's actually fucking huge, actually. But this robot here, not the central character of the image. The central character of the image is the big time kaboom in the middle, where they are apparently destroying void tentacles with time magic, is the way that it looks. So again, the same principles kind of apply. We have a bright central spot to highlight where the attention is supposed to be drawn. All of the tentacles are reaching towards this explosion in the middle. They're not reaching towards the character, the robot. They're reaching towards the explosion. All the bright light is here, like everywhere else in the image that you look. Everything is more dull. Everything is less colorful. And so that's how the artists draw your attention to the explosion as the central character of the image. And then the secondary character of the image is this clock. I think it's the Tower Guardian? If I'm not mistaken, actually. Isn't he like a 8 cost? If I'm not much mistaken, is it the Clock Hand? No, it's not. Okay, it's just one of the little timekeeper creatures. It's some kind of timekeeper golem thing, whatever he is. He's the secondary character. Like, he's kind of there to have, I think, just to have a character there and to explain how they delivered, I guess, the time bomb. I'm not really sure why they elected to have the character there, except maybe to create a visual connection with the rest of Zilean's cards. Like, in the sense of, oh, okay, clearly, so they sent this thing there to deliver a time bomb to blow up the tentacles, something along those lines. Plus, he looks cool. Like, he's just a cool character. He's a sundial. Like, I really like the little clocklings and their character designs. Like, they've had these little dials, and they're sort of composed of like, little shards of things that just kind of float around. It's very cool. He might be there for scale. Well, yeah, I thought so too, but the trouble is he doesn't do a lot for scale here because, well, okay, so he's standing on a rooftop, right? So this is a house, and this right here, I think, is a chimney. So he's fucking huge. Like, this thing is, like, mecha-sized. And then, by extension, obviously, these tentacles must be, like, the sizes of multiple buildings. Like, they must be absolutely fucking enormous. But the problem is that the composition kind of doesn't serve that, because the only other buildings we have to sort of relate the size of the rest of them to are these background buildings way back here, distorted by the perspective. So that kind of doesn't... I feel like if that was the intention, it doesn't work. We would need a human for scale. Like, if we had a human mage like Kahiri standing down here, that would do a much better job of delivering the scale, I think. Right, okay, I should look at chat. Like, when I'm just in talking mode and I'm just blabbering on, I keep forgetting to look at chat. He's asserting dominance. Did Zilean make the golems? As far as I can tell, the golems are Icathian constructs. Like, they're things that he's taken with him from Icathia. I don't think he necessarily made all of them himself, but they were sort of constructed in the time of Icathia when he was doing his thing. Oh yeah, by the way, something someone pointed out to me, which I had actually kind of missed, is Zilean's, like, his big hair and his big beard creates an hourglass shape on his head. Like, it's like his head is this little narrow point in the middle, and then the hair especially in his base model, is like the top of the hourglass and then the bottom of the hourglass is the beard, which is a clever little idea. Any chippers in the chat? Everyone here is a chipper. If they're not a chipper, they get banned. Ah, water. Whee. Hourglass body? Nah, give me hourglass face. Hell yeah. That's better character design. Is he the master for the others or more like a leader of people from Acacia? He's the master. Like, it's very explicitly he has like an academy and he's like the lead professor, is what they're doing with him. So he's more like Dumbledore, basically. Well, I mean, fuck J.K. Rowling, but he's like a Dumbledore sort of character to them. He's basically reaching out across time to try and find really smart mages who might be smarter than him and teach them everything he knows and then try and find a way to save Acacia from the void. That's sort of his story. Is there a reason for Malphite being Targon, Lulu being Ionia, and Teemo being Piltover? Yeah, I mean, gameplay. Basically, like Theodore, that's basically the reason. Malphite is technically associated with Ishtal, at least on the universe page, because he came from an Ishtali floating fortress that was made to fight the Void way back when. I have a short about it on my Shorts channel if you want a recap of his lore. So he's technically associated with Ishtal, but Ishtal isn't coming as a region to Legends of Runeterra because Ishtal has no champions. Like, they have Kiana, they have Malphite. I think technically they've been given Rengar and Nidalee and Nico, so they're up to 5 or 6 champions at this point. But like they don't have, like they only really have Kiana. Only Kiana was made for Ishtal, and Ishtal hasn't been developed enough as a region yet. So Ishtal might be the last region that gets added to Legends of Runeterra, if anything. But Malphite is just Targon because they wanted to put him somewhere, I think. Like, he just like, oh, we want to do some landmark stuff in Targon, so here's Malphite, and then we can do some earth elementals around Targon as well, or whatever. And Malphite, technically, like, he goes everywhere. Like, he's not really stuck in any one region. He just travels underground and goes to places and eats the void where he finds it, or just crushes it, or something. Yeah, most Ishtal champions were retconned. You ramble too much, way to plant egg. Yes, I do. Welcome to the stream. We've got I should make a t-shirt where it says I ramble too much. It's my brand. Hello. Hi. And it's also because anytime I do a stream, I look over and I see that there's 1,000 fucking people looking at me, and so I get a little bit of stage fright. You know, I get a little nervous, and so I get a little bit nervous, I become a motor mouth. It's the same thing every time I went to an exam at university. I was just never shut the fuck up. So, that's why I'm rambling. I become terrified of the silence. Anyway, they could make Ivern and Gnar into Ishtal. Yeah, I mean, yeah, they could. Let's move on to Irelia. And, let's start with, I'm just gonna kill the music for a second to make this easier on me. And let's start with something interesting about Irelia. Let's see if I can find... Where are you, Irelia? You are a champion. I need your interactions. Yeah, there she is. It's interactions for Irelia, which are very interesting. She has some with Asir. It's very fun. And then we go... Haha.
Sharima's legacy will endure.
Yeah. I'm not interested in you, Asir. Shut up.
Always remember those who came before us. My heart races. What if I falter? If you fall, I will always catch you.
Our enemies approach. My hands are shaking.
Then hold on to mine. We'll face them together. I wish I could give you silks, but I must give you steel.
Stay by my side. I cannot ask for more. What terrors must we face out here?
Whatever they are, we face them together, Little Blossom.
They seem like good friends, don't they? It's so nice to see gals being pals. Just girls being bros. Just so nice to see that.
Into formation!
I'd follow you to the black heart of Noxus itself.
See? Just friends.
Always the Elder's favorite student.
And you were mine.
Yeah, they're just good friends.
Together again someday.
How could we have known it would be like this?
Just friends.
So
Just friends. Just buddies, just pals, just completely heterosexual straight friends who are buddies with each other. Just blah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because that's lovely. It's nice to see that Irelia is getting some like characters that she can interact with who aren't like Karma or whatever. It's very sapphic, and they're definitely not just friends. In case you weren't picking up on what was being put down there, yes, there's more than friendship there. Maybe it's a very super ultra close friendship, but maybe it's just they kiss each other a lot and I don't know, do gay stuff. Just saying. Anyway, so that's cool. I quite enjoyed that. But let's turn to Irelia's. There's not much to say about the flavors. Like, once we studied Ardent Beauty, our hearts soared. When they broke our walls and spilled our blood, we fell back down to earth. Which is basically Irelia's story is like, oh, the Noxians came and attacked Ionia, and now we have to be military Ionians, and that's weird and different because we used to be pacifist Ionians, and like, that's kind of the whole... It's basically all of Ionia revolves around this. Like, all of Ionia is about... Once upon a time, the nations lived in harmony and everything changed when the Noxus nation attacked. And then, like, that's sort of... Ionia is all about dealing with the trauma of the war. And dealing with, like, trying to overcome the changes that have been wrought to Ionian culture by the Noxian attack, and you see that everywhere. Like, the Kinku order was shattered because Zed was like, no, we're gonna go fucking fight these people, and Shen was like, no, I am the Eye of Balance, and that means I sit on my ass and do nothing. Like, so that whole story was kicked off by the Noxian invasion. Then we have Zaya and Rakan, who were radicalized because of the Noxian invasion. They're like, fuck these humans, fuck these guys, they're assholes. We're taking back the country for the Vestaya. So they're from that, like, then there's Karma and Irelia who have a conflict over what to do about the Noxian invasion. Well, they used to anyway. That used to be kind of the point, but now Karma is like sort of an activist instead of being a pacifist. There's a whole different retcon that they did recently. And then Set, who's obviously a product of Noxian culture coming to Ionia. Like, he was child of a Noxian, and he does a very Noxian thing, which is to have like fighting pits where he murders people, and makes money from people being murdered. And that's like all of Ionia revolves around that. And Irelia is sort of the poster child for it because she is like, she's all this art and grace, and she's like a dancer with these mystical arts and stuff who uses those mystical arts to like cut people's fucking heads off in battle, which is what she's doing here. So, again, am I recording at low quality? No, I am streaming at 8,000, a bitrate of 8,000 kilobytes per second, and I'm recording at a pretty high quality. Anyway, oh, there's some super chats I missed. Writers railing against their imposed limitations. Yeah, I mean, basically, like Riot's writers for a long time have basically just we'll get like queer representation in where like any way we can. They can't do it explicitly, so they do it implicitly, like everywhere that they can do it. So them's the breaks with corporate art. Augusta Martinez loves your content, man. Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. And at this point, the LOR designers are just giving the League of Legends ones a smug. What are you going to do about all our queer representation look? Well, no, because they're the same people. Like a lot of the same people work on Legends of Runeterra as work on League of Legends when it comes to lore. They have a lot of coordination. I know from the central writing department, like the central narrative department at Riot coordinates across departments for them. So they're not different teams. Irelia can cut off my foreskin with her blades. Okay, I'm sorry, but like, not to kink shame, but I'm gonna have to delete that. Anyway, so her splash art. Look for the frame, right? Like, we've talked about that already. Look for the frame. The frame is these buildings in the background. They separate Irelia from the fray. They raise her above, like, the chaos of the battlefield. They frame her against the sky, the open sky of Ionia, and separate her out from all the other characters in the image so that she becomes the obvious central character. Then remember what we talked about with highlighting. Irelia is literally highlighted by sunlight. Everyone else is much more in shade and much darker. She has much more vibrant colors. Everyone else is a lot more dull in their coloration. So, like, all of that basic stuff we've talked about already, all of it is at play here. From a storytelling perspective also, like I said, Irelia is literally raised above the battlefield. Like, she literally exists on a higher level than everyone else here, which again is about communicating the power that she has as a fighter, as a champion. Like, she's just way more powerful than literally anyone else in this image. She's like rending down Noxians left and right. She's just kicking ass everywhere she goes. She's above them because she's literally above them in the image. It makes her powerful. Is it intentional that her blades form a heart? No, I don't think so. These are just two swooping circles. Ah, god damn it. The sun is shining in my eyes. Just a sec, I need to pull some blinds. There we go. Hi. The sun comes straight through my window and into my face at this hour, so... Right then. Chat, are you gonna rant about the armor? Well, I have done my ranting about Irelia's armor, I think, in my shorts and my other videos. It's a very... I don't like Irelia's armor design. Specifically, I don't like it because of the spikes. Like, you see how she has all these spikes that point inwards towards her body, towards her sternum? That, to me, like, visually, that just looks like it makes it harder for her to bend and sway and, like, twist her body, which is what she needs to do as a dancer, and that's, like, I think this armor design is so silly. Because it would have been so easy to make swooping curves that go outward, like, that give her physical freedom, rather than things like this thing that looks like a corset that's, like, ensnaring her and holding her so that she can't be flexible. It looks like, it's just... Irelia's armor is weird to me. But something someone brought up in the chat is that in both of Irelia's card arts, she kind of looks a little stiff. And I tend to agree with that. Like, this is like, it's a nice dynamic pose, but it doesn't look like, to me, like she's dancing here. It just looks like she's jumping or something. Like, it just looks like she's leapt from here and is kind of flying through the air. It doesn't look like a dance move. And it's kind of the same thing in her leveled up splash art, which there's another thing there I want to talk about also. It doesn't look like, to me, like she's dancing. These don't look like dance moves to me. Not even like special kung fu magic, like combat dance arts. They don't really look like that. Which is a problem with Irelia generally, is like, even when she shows up in like, what was it, the Warriors trailer, or was it the, it was one of the animated trailers for the season. It wasn't Warriors, it was, fuck was it called? The one where Kennen shows up at the end where she's fighting Zion. Anyway, that one. She looks so stiff in that one as well. Like, her animation was just so stiff. And it's weird. Like, there's something about the way that the art department is mandating that Irelia be depicted, where she's just, like, never... The only time I remember seeing her... Awaken, yes, Awaken. The only time I remember seeing Irelia really do, like, dance moves and looking really smooth and really agile was the announcement trailer for this expansion. Like, where the one that was done by Sun Creature Studio, the 2D animated one. Like, there, she gets to do some really cool, badass, like, combat dance moves that look really fucking sweet. But that's the first time I've ever seen her be, like, look really flexible, and that's kind of the thing I would look for. Like, if I was the editor who was giving feedback on these splashes, I would say, like, hey, could we maybe give her some more contorted poses, like something that looks more deliberate, something that looks more like an elaborate combat dance pose kind of thing, rather than these sort of kind of stiff, extended poses that just kind of look like she's standing weirdly. So I don't know. This is my thing. Anyway... Yeah, one thing I want to compliment, one thing I've always really liked about Legends of Runeterra is that when you look at the faces of background characters, you actually get a lot of variety. Like, you actually get, like, you get different kinds of noses, you get, like, people with 5 o'clock shadow, you get, like, different kinds of eyes, and anywhere you look in the background of cards, you usually find really nice character designs hiding there. That I really appreciate. Now, the thing that's cool as fuck about Irelia's level 2 splash art is the way that they're using the blades, right? So, the stuff we talked about already. Framing. The framing here is obvious. It's the spiral of blades that she's carrying with her. Absolutely ripping through these motherfuckers. Like, that shit looks cool as hell. Like, the extreme distortion of the perspective, that looks cool as hell. That's a really cool compositional idea. I really, really like it, and it's a great way to show Irelia at the height of her powers, like, which is the idea of the level up art, is when, this is when the character is at their most powerful. something that's not, like... The danger of these really extreme perspectives is that drawing a character in, like, an extreme distortion like this, like, coming towards the camera like that, is really fucking hard. Like, this professional artists fuck this up all the time because it's a really hard thing to do, and I think there's some weirdness going on with Irelia's proportions here. Like, there's some weirdness going on with, like, the size of her head relative to the size of her torso. Because her head is the size of her torso here, but she's not leaning far enough forward for me to feel like that size distortion is justified. Like, there's something about she looks too upright, where she should be looking like she's leaning more forwards, like she's leaning more into the camera, like more of her torso should be framed downwards. So we get, like, a top-down view of her chest as she's, like, dashing forwards in the Blade Surge. Because that's what this is the Blade Surge, I think. Or her ultimate or whatever. Like, there's something about the distortion where the distortion that's implied by the spiral of knives just doesn't match the distortion that we see on the actual character. And it's like, it just looks a little uncanny. Like, it's not wrong, per se, it's just, there's, like, that 10% mismatch that makes me go, oh, hey, Like, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel right to me. Which is a pity, because, like, it's, again, I fucking love the blade spiral. Like, as a framing device, that shit is killer. That is killer. So I like that. Anyway, we have the framing, we have the lighting. Again, like, Irelia is the brightest and most saturated thing in the image. Literally everyone else is basically in grayscale. And we have the lighting from, like, the sun behind her doing the work of highlighting her in the frame. But you can also see we have all the bright red and orange and pinks of a sunset, sort of creating a color space here. And again, we have intensity of detail. Like, Irelia is highly, highly detailed. You can see individual hair strands. Characters in the backgrounds, they're just more like flat blobs of color, mostly with minimal details on them, to keep them from stealing attention from the center of the action. Right then. Looking at chat again, I'm gonna try... Just get to Chip already, please breathe. Oh, I breathe for him. We'll get to Chip, but we'll have to go through the champions first, I'm afraid. Let's see. Is this one interesting? Nah, because again, Irelia should be dancing here, shouldn't she? Like, she should be dancing. This is a spell that, like, is a blade dance spell about, like, getting a character to attack with the blades. So why is she just standing there doing fuck all? She should be dancing. She should be doing a dance move, man. Let's see. Blade Search. Yeah, I mean, this is basically, right, because this is the pose that she's supposed to be making here, right? Like, this is the forward dash that she does when she uses her Blade Surge. So, I don't know. Anyway, the blade itself also includes Irelia in its artwork. And I like this pose more. Like, this pose looks a lot more like a dancer pose. Like, this looks more like she's doing some kind of complicated thing where, like, you've caught her in the middle of a movement. I think they could do more with the legs, but, like, this one looks more like that. And again, there's a little bit of framing going on where the mountains are sort of separating Irelia from the battlefield again. Like, she's again separated from the scrum, from the general fight of the battlefield, and sort of isolated against the clouds. She's more highlighted, she's more saturated, she has more details on her. And then the actual primary character of the image is the blade, which is the thing most forward in frame. It's the thing that's brightest in the image, not by much. It's like, Irelia is like a close secondary character, but it's like, it's just doing the job of being the important thing in the image. Not much else to say there. Oh, Super Chat, she's just standing there, menacingly. Yeah. Yeah, basically. Right. We get to Malphite. We'll get to Chip in a second, don't you worry. But let me look at chat for a second. Hello, chat. If you have any questions, let me know. Because when I finish talking about a card, I'm going to try and look at chat. So I can talk to you guys and, like, maybe respond to you so that this is an interesting stream and not just a video that I'm performing live. How am I doing? I'm out of breath and I need water. Thanks for the reminder. Is the building a better video going to be Kai'Sa? Nope. I'm saving Kai'Sa for a special occasion. We're not doing Kai'Sa yet. When do we see Chip? Let's see. We have Malphite. Then I want to do... There's the Adaptertron. And then there's Chip. We'll get to Chip in like 2.5 cards. Do you think Singed will appear soon, with the attention to Ionia and Riven being added? I don't know. Singed would be a Son champion, so like Son hasn't had a champion in a while, so he could show up, but I don't think he's going to be added in this expansion. Or like he's not going to be added in the Shurima set. I don't think. Chip the new Cythria. No, he's not. I want to see your take on Jin, not gonna lie. Well, I've cut a couple of videos on my channel, and I've got one over on the Shorts channel. I like him a lot, in case you're wondering. Are you gonna mention that Malphite got hit by a star? Well, I mean, yeah, sort of. We'll get to it, I guess, but if it's relevant. The next Piltover and Son champ is Echo. Are we sure? Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Wasn't there like a leak of voice lines for Echo or something? Kahiri is the new Cythria. Yeah, he's more like the new Cythria, like in terms of being a character who has a story. I mean, design a better Jin. Oh, no. Couldn't do that. Jin is pretty perfect. He's pretty much as good as he's gonna get. Am I missing super chats here? Hang on. I hope if anyone's donating via Streamlabs, I can't see that right now because I don't have Streamlabs up, but I'm just gonna check. I don't want to miss anything because that would make me feel bad. I don't think I put a Streamlabs link in the description, did I? I think I left that out intentionally. Oh, no, it's there, actually. Shit. Okay. Just need to make sure. There hasn't been anything, right? No, just super chats. Okay, good. I stopped using Streamlabs because I could never... It's difficult to coordinate. There was someone who asked about the Darkin. Yes. Swagmaster. Lovely name. Do you think the Darkin, when they're going to be added, they're going to be the same region? I would have to imagine so. Like, I have to think Varus would absolutely be Ionia. Because, like, Valmar and Kaya are Ionia and Varus is operating in Ionia. It would be weird if then... I mean, Rast would have to be attached to Kain. So he'd have to be Ionia as well. Aatrox, I don't know. Like, where would he be? I would imagine they would attach him... Like, they could attach him either to Targon, because he's kind of associated with Pantheon, or they could attach him to the Freljord if they wanted to. Yeah. And outside of that, we don't have any more Darkin, so... Oh, Brandon Strickland. Just wanted to say you're one of my favorite YouTubers. You may be interested in both Legends, Runeterra, and character design in general. Thank you kindly. Oh, well, thank you kindly for your super chat, and thanks for watching. Do you think that Camavor will be added to the Runeterra map? Not in this season. Oh, Theodore says, isn't Aatrox Shurima? No, all Darkin are Shurima. All Darkin are... former Ascended who were corrupted by blood magic and trauma from fighting the Void, and then they turned into Darkin over like thousands of years of corruption. So they're all Shurima, technically, but that's not where they are now. What's my take on the placement of the region icons on the cards? I think it's fine. Like, I look at the subreddit sometimes and people, like, complaining about, like, oh, place the region thing. Like, people do all these redesigns, and, like, I think it's fine. Like, it's fine. To me, it's like, I don't think the cards really need, like, a legibility update that badly. So, Is Aatrox in the Freljord? He was? Maybe? Like, it's unclear, because, like, Tryndamere... Like, Tryndamere still has lore that implies that he was given this rage power that he has by Aatrox coming to the Freljord and fucking up his tribe, but that lore is so vague that they could just retcon it and say, no, it was a shaman, it was the Volibear, it was, like, whatever. He used to be connected very explicitly to Tryndamere. He isn't necessarily anymore. There's sort of, like, I don't know, Tryndamere hasn't had a lore update in forever either, so his lore is soft. How does Riven make any sense being in Noxus when she's in Ionia? Well, Riven is in Noxus right now. She's been captured. I think Irelia is stiff because it's inspired by Tai Chi waterbending, so it's supposed to be grounded, calculated. What do you think? I don't know. I've seen Tai Chi being performed, and it doesn't, like, it's like, when I say Irelia stiff, what I mean is, when you look at her pose here, right, she's just upright. Like, it's just straight up and down. And when you do, like, an extreme pose, like, when you do, like, a movement pose, when a character is, like, at the peak of emotion, they're usually not balanced. Like, usually you go from balance to imbalance and then back to balance with some kind of emotion. Like all motion. That's just a basic animation principle. And for me, it's like, I would like to see Irelia in more extreme poses. Like, I would like to see her at the extremes of her dance moves rather than in these grounded central, like, constantly, like, in this grounded state. Because that's what makes her dance interesting, is like the extreme moves, which is what we saw in the animated trailer for the season, is we got to see those extreme dance moves, and it ruled. Anyway, let's actually move on to Malphite so we can get to Chip. Like, I know people are impatient. Irelia isn't balanced, TV Sky. Yeah, better nerf Irelia. So, Malphite. And both of his splash arts, we get to talk about one of my favorite things when it comes to splash art like this, which is scale. So you know about banana for scale, right? Well, when it comes to paintings, and it comes to the history of art, we use humans for scale. Wait, that was a big burp. We use humans for scale. And this is something like, this is my little art history connection for you. If you go back and look at, especially Romantic period artwork, like paintings and stuff of the Romantic period, especially nature paintings, like, painters fucking love doing this trick. Like, they love putting in a human character to show you how big everything else is supposed to be relative to it. Because the human brain is programmed to look for faces. It's called pareidolia. It's a pattern recognition, right? We're programmed to look for human shapes. We're programmed to look for human faces. That's why emojis work, and smiley faces. And one thing that a painter can do is we can abuse, like, because the human brain has an instinctual sense of how big is a person, it uses, when it sees an image like this, your brain subconsciously uses the people in the image as a way to sense what the scale of everything else is supposed to be. Take away the humans from this picture, and Malphite doesn't look quite as overpoweringly massive and towering as he's supposed to. Like, it becomes a little bit less overawing, it becomes a little bit less, holy shit, this thing is big, and more like, oh, that's a large thing, I guess? I don't know, it's probably big. So having humans for scale, animals for scale, like relatively recognizable items and objects for scale is like the classic trick to get a character to look big. And we get to talk about more of that stuff in his secondary splash because, you know, there's good stuff going on with it. Anyway, that's how Malphite gets to look so big. The second thing that the splash art does is it makes sure that we are looking at Malphite from a human perspective, right? Like, look at our, like, if you were to imagine where the cameraman is placed in this scene, like the person taking this photo, right? The cameraman is placed on a human eye level. He's placed at the same level as the two Targon climbers, who are the mountain sojourners, I believe. Who aren't part of this set. God damn it. There. It's these two, who are traveling with Tiari. Yoink. We are placed in their perspective, so we're looking up at Malphite from below. Imagine, as a contrast, if we were looking at Malphite from a helicopter that was flying high above him, he would probably still look big, but he wouldn't look big in the same way that he does when you're when you're standing on a mountaintop and looking at this thing that's bigger than a mountain just kind of rising above the clouds, high above you, so high up above you that there's a haze in front of him. He wouldn't look big in the same way. It wouldn't feel the same way to look up at him. Boys who do, thank you for that super chat just saying, rock! Because, yeah, rock. Anyway, where was I? Right. So we've talked about two things before, right? Like, we talked about framing, we've talked about highlighting, and we've talked about detail density. And those are all kind of interesting here, because Malphite kind of needs to not be, like, the central... Like, he kind of needs to not be the central thing in the image, in a sense. Like, he needs to not be as close or as detailed as, for example, the rocks or the trees that are in the foreground, because they're a lot closer to us. So being further away, he has relatively less detail density. Like, you can see the crags in the rock, but you can't see the texture on the rock. Like, the same way that there's so much painted texture on the rocks here in the foreground, you kind of can't see that on Malphite as much, but he does have a lot of detail density generally, and what they do is they create this frame, like, that travels right here around the edges, like so. We have this frame of the mountainside that creates this, like, space for Malphite to occupy, where he's framed against the grandeur of the sky. Up there, holy shit, Lumen, thank you. That's a very generous super chat. Bandle City for Region 10, baby. Hi-ya. Also, crazy how you almost say make him naked, but you never thirst over Malphite thinking emoji. I hope for Bandle City. I'm not that hopeful, but I want it. I really want it. Right. So the thing that they do with Malphite, because again, the thing we want here is to communicate scale, specifically. Look at the colors on Malphite. Look how he's kind of washed out. Like, it's kind of like there's a white haze over him. And that's a haze of distance. Like, that's just like, anytime you have something that's really far away on the horizon, it kind of loses color saturation a little bit. So he's not the most color saturated thing in the image. That would probably be the Mountain Sojourner over here. And he's not the most detail heavy, but he is still highlighted with sunlight in a way that neither of the Sojourners really are. But he kind of occupies a central position in the image just by sheer virtue of being fucking massive and occupying this central space in the frame that they've created around him. And, like, kudos to the artist, because the sense of scale here is absolutely fantastic. And it's also fantastic in his level 2. Like, the sense of scale that they got with Malphite, like, just how fucking big this dude is, absolutely wonderful. I really like it. How the hell does Taliyah talk to this guy? Like, Taliyah just chats with him, like, casually. Let's actually have their interactions. Let me bring those up for you. Let's have their interactions, because they're adorable, and I love them. They're a family, and they're wonderful and beautiful.
The rock mover, the mini-mage, the surf.
Malphite, you can just call me Taliyah.
The girl always beats me. I must learn her powers.
Perhaps you should choose scissors, Malphite. There's my favorite giant talking rock mountain.
Where is he? I will break him. There is Malphite. I am Malphite.
There wouldn't be room for more than one.
My feet are far away because I am tall.
I love that line so much. My feet are far away because I am tall. Such a good line. He's so cute.
You're also very, very sweet. Rock solid.
Like mountain, like hill.
Snow on my feet, wind on my head.
I hope you never change. I was thinking the same thing, Blue. Blue is like me, except smaller and also bluer. They cut shapes in the stone for their little feet.
I like that line too. They cut shapes in the stone for their little feet. It sounds like he thinks it's cute. Like, the humans cut shapes in the stone for their little feet.
This is where they stop and go, oh, look at that view. I think I know that guy. There goes Cliff. You know, I was hit by a star once. Sometimes the sky waves, and my back tingles. The place where they fall. Must have strong hands there.
I love Malphite so much. He's so good. And he sings, like, when you idle with him, he sings, "She'll be coming round the mountain when she comes." Which is not a DMCA skin spotlights, it's in the public domain. Malphite is good. I love Malphite. Malphite is awesome. Yes. Was there a super chat that I missed? Where is your head, rock thing? Where is the neck I shall sever? Malphite hurt Aatrox and made himself a neck. Yeah, this is true. I feel the image is slanted, but gravity says no. No, you're right. If you look at where gravity is, actually. Look at the trees in the background here. Look how they're pointed. We are working with what's called a Dutch angle. Well, in film, it's called a Dutch angle, which is you take the camera and you tilt it a little bit. And what that does is two things. First of all, when you have like a horizontal image like this, like artwork that's horizontal like that, it gives you a little bit of extra space to work with because the diagonal is longer than the, you know. But what it also does, from a perspective of feeling in an image, is that it creates a sense of unsteadiness. Like, it creates a sense of being off balance, of being off center a little bit. And that's something that these cards often work with, in order to create a sense of being overwhelmed, a sense of being out of control. And that makes sense, again, with Malphite, because, like, you're looking up and you're seeing this walking mountain just going past, and you can feel the tremors in the earth as he walks, and it's like, whoa, you're off balance here, because this thing is overwhelming. Malphite is huge, so you're supposed to be a little off balance. You're supposed to be overawed by him. By contrast, something like, we can actually look at that right now. If I can get this to go away, thank you. By contrast, take a look at LeBlanc's level 1. Here, everything is like this complete flatness. And that's because this image isn't really about being off balance or off center. This image is about LeBlanc being in control. She's in control of this meeting. She operates everything that's happening. And the reason that she does that, of course, is because everyone at the meeting is LeBlanc, apparently. Like, it's about LeBlanc having control and having complete, like, confidence of what's happening. So that's, like, the Dutch angle. I'm gonna call it that. It's not really called that in painting, but I'm just gonna use that term because it's useful. That's why the tilt. Anyway, there's another... Holy shit! Boys who do, thank you! That's very, very generous of you. Is Chip a rock or a pebble? He would be a rock, because pebbles are, like, very small. But, like, pebbles are made of rock, but not all rocks are pebbles, right? Chip is LeBlanc. I am LeBlanc. Yes, everyone is LeBlanc. Absolutely everyone is LeBlanc. Sorry, my pets were fighting. What deck am I more excited to play? I mean, I'm really... Like, Malphite looks like a terrible card, kind of. Like the whole thing about, like, landmarks, you have to summon 12 mana worth of landmarks. It's kind of like... So you kind of have to play him with Taliyah, because you can use the doubling on Taliyah to get to that 12 mana breaking point faster. But then he's also, like, a 7 mana. So, like, you have to have a board that's able to sustain you until you get to 7 mana, so you can actually, like... So you can actually play him and use the Unstoppable Force spell, and you kind of... If you're up against Ionia, you're just fucked, because it's just gonna... Oh, deny. It's just deny, 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 and, like, Whimsify, or stop your skill, stop your spell, stop your everything. Because Ionia can just fuck you. And, like, there's other regions as well where they can just, like, kill... Like, Shadow Isles can just kill Malphite, like, they'll just kill him. So... He feels like he's not that viable, but I want to play it. Like, I want... Because I've messed around with it versus AI, with some really terrible, awful decks that I've built. And when you get going, like, when you get to the Malphite, and you put him on the board, and they don't have a way to stop your Unstoppable Force, you just wreck fucking house. Like, you kill everything. But until you can get there, he sucks. So, yeah. Anyway, he's LeBlanc. He's LeBlanc, you're LeBlanc, I'm LeBlanc. Are there any other LeBlancs I should know about? Oh, yes, Mothman. If I'm LeBlanc, and you're LeBlanc, then who's flying the plane? Well, that would be LeBlanc. Lemon Bellflower, no problem. Right. Where the fuck were we? Okay, level 2. Level 2 Malphite. I'm trying to get to Chip as fast as I can here. So scale, again. He is a big lad, isn't he? Him's a big boy. Him's a large. Him's a very big. And here they're going with a different means of demonstrating scale, which is to create, like, this is kaiju stuff, right? Which is to create a sense of the impact that he has on his environment. So, we have mountains for scale over here. So we're kind of seeing, okay, like, maybe those mountains are far away, but clearly this is kind of large. We have a very low horizon. Like, the horizon line is, like, somewhere down here. So most of what we're seeing is just sky. So he occupies this huge space where he's pretty much just outlined against the sky only because he's just that tall. So that helps. We have, again, the washed out white filter that's sort of laid over everything that's happening. Like, nothing here is really super saturated. There's this sort of haze over everything because, again, very big, very large, very far away. That's what happens to the light as it travels through atmosphere. And then there's the explosion of what Malphite is doing to the ground here, which is throwing up so much, like, rocks and pebbles and, like, boulders and everything and debris, and you have these shock waves just radiating and emanating out from the goddamn thing that just gives you a sense of, holy fucking shit, like, this is landing with the force of a bomb. And that's the imagery that's being used here, is, like, this imagery of, like, debris flying everywhere. This is the imagery of a bomb falling. Like, if you see an imagery like this, it'll be like Mythbusters blowing up a truck, or, like, it'll be some huge explosion going off or something. That's your visual reference for this, which is why you go, oh, so he's bigger than an explosion that can do, oh, big, large. And then also, as a final little touch, if you look all the way down here, these little bitty, itty bitty tiny little itty bitty little things right there, them's humans, I think. I think them is supposed to be humans. Little tiny pinpricks of fucking nothing just hanging out at the bottom of the image. So you get the sense that this is big, huge, large guy whomst is doing a large thing. And it's brilliantly put together, frankly. Like, it's, again, kudos to the artists at, this is 6 more vodka, right? Yeah. For, like, finding a way to represent the scale and power of something like Malphite in a card. Like, boom, large, huge boy, absolutely excellent. I still wish Malphite had a better character design. Like, I wish, and I said this in the short I made about him recently, but, like, I wish Malphite actually looked like a man-made construct, because that's what he is. Malphite is a shard of like a floating fortress that was man-made, that fell to the earth and then sort of gathered more rock to itself and sort of became this, like, grew to mountain size eventually. But I wish that there was an aspect of evidence of his past as, like, part of a fortress, which is what subjectively did so well with their fan rework of the character. Okay, oh god, more super chats. Jesus. If you're gonna keep brewing out Malphite decks, try putting in 1 or 2 Zileans. Card's insane. Yeah, I mean, Zilean, because he has the landmark with the time bombs. I've been thinking about trying to fit a Zilean in there somehow. Those people are fucked. They're in the splash zone. Yeah, like, everything near Malphite in his level 2 card is dead. Like, probably, like, even if you were standing as far away as the person, like, as this perspective is, you're probably still dead, because, like, those boulders are coming towards you. Good luck outrunning them. So, and here's plot, the last stop on the Chip Tour Targon. It's Papa. He's the biggest of the Targon giants and sings a mean song too, let me tell you. Just don't try and climb him, the spikes tickle him, and you don't want him sneezing when you're halfway up. No, sir. That's little Chip giving us a tour of Targon, because Chip is adorable. Chip is good. Chip is wonderful. Let's see. Is this one interesting? No, not so much, because it's just to punch the ground. Is this one interesting? No, not so much, because he's just doing Unstoppable Force. Yeah, so no spell cards interesting there. Okay, let me just get my filters back on. That was Malphite. Now it's the Adaptertron, and after the Adaptertron, we get to Chip. So stay patient. And I just like this thing because it's French fries. Like, it's a KFC bot. I guess. And it's like, it's French fries with Heimerdinger mustaches for some reason. Ah, yes, the Adaptertron 3000. Adaptable, inventive, and quite the looker. If the fella could speak, I'm sure we'd have much to share with each other. Heimerdinger, who was hanging out in the background over here. It's just like, it's a fucking walking McDonald's French fries thing. I don't know about it, why it's there, but it's like, why did they make it look this way? I don't know. But it kind of seems to me the storytelling here is that Heimerdinger has made all these little French fry bots. And if you look at the background, like his little French fry bots, they're drilling into all his other turrets and are acting as like kind of a control system for them. I think that's the idea here. And that makes sense for the keyword, or for the thing that's in it. If you summon a tech, we share keywords. So if you summon any other tech alongside this thing, it will gain the keywords of any other turrets that Heimerdinger summons, right? So that's sort of the storytelling, I think, here, is that these little things are grabbing, like they're extracting properties or controlling the other turrets. Like there's some kind of AI neural link thing going on or whatever. Anyway, framing. See if you can spot it. It's right here. It is the big arch in the background of this warehouse, or wherever the hell it is Heimerdinger is doing this thing. That creates the framing around the creature. Then there is the color saturation. Look at how, like, look at the red on the turret here, for example. Like, there's some red on its feet and on like its joints, but that red is a lot less saturated than the red that is on the Adaptertron. And then the sunlight only directly hits the Adaptertron itself from behind, granted, but it doesn't hit any of the other turrets, so they're not highlighted. And the only other highlighted turret is way back here, tiny in the background, not important. Heimerdinger is also, like, he's got some edge lighting from the back, but he's also not highlighted and not important, but he is the secondary character in the image, followed by the swarm of the little Heimer bots flying around, doing their thing. And I do like the expressiveness of this turret, like, or robot, whatever the hell it is. I do like the expressiveness. I like the little gentle, dainty finger with which it's picking up one of the French fries from its head. I like, it's clearly just dropped this thing on the ground, right? Like, it's got like a nice expressiveness to it. It looks very cocky. It looks like it's doing the Heimerdinger swag walk, right? It looks like it's doing that thing that Heimerdinger used to do. Or he can still do. You have a toggle for it. It's like this. It's a very charming little robot. Not much else to say about it, though. Which means now we get to Chip. Chip, my good boy Chip. And did you know that there is an infinite number of him? There are infinite chips. We can never run out of him. There's just chips. Chip, 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 chip. Or maybe they're just his siblings, you know. But it's my boy Chip. Look at my good boy Chip. There's so many of him. I love all of them. And he's my boy. He's my child. And he's perfect. And this is the best art in the game. And the artist who made it should get all of the money from the game. Just give that to them, to the person who made the Chip art. And yeah, because he's the good boy. He's the goodest boy, and he's the best boy, and he's the only boy. So I like, he's my boy. Good boy Chip. So, same things we've talked about before. Here's an interesting case of framing, by the way, because take a look, like the other chips or the other little rock things in the image, they are all sort of off to one side over here, right? And then Chip is sort of behind, or rather in front of this triangular-ish, sort of triangular, like this vaguely triangular shape of this pile of half circles behind him, which kind of acts as like a frame around him to make him centered in the image. Then there we have the sunlight coming down, obviously, so he's literally highlighted in the image, and his colors are more saturated and more clear than the rest of the little critters in the image, and he has more detail on him than the rest of them do. Not by much, but by just enough. As adorable little boy is the main character of the entire game. He's the main character of the game. He's the best character. Okay, so hello, I'm Chip, and I'm here to show you Targon. Wow, he's big and tall, and I hope you got good shoes for the walking. Let's go. He's good. I want to make a deck with like Targon Demacia with like Unyielding Spirit, and then I want to make an immortal Chip, and I just want to buff him. I want to find ways just to buff Chip so that he becomes the biggest thing on the entire battlefield and he can't die. That's what I want to do. Just immortal Chip deck. If anyone has a deck list for that, send it to me. I want to play it. We believe in chip supremacy over here. I'm gonna use Chip to summon the Butcher. Oh, you monster! You monster! You terrible person, you. Why would you do that? He has a special ability where he gets +2/+2 when you summon a landmark. He's the best card in the whole game. Why would you ever lose him? You're just setting yourself up for failure, man. Would that be killing them with chip damage? Yes. Yes, it would, the Harbo. That would be killing them with chip damage.